keep yourself here till your wedding day. Mum should be there on your wedding day. Your dad should be there on your wedding day.
Hello, my name is Abishek Clifford of Rescue, and it's such a great opportunity to speak to you today about a topic which is so misunderstood. Promoted lies are coming through the television and the internet, and it's so sad today, but it's really good that in the colleges we are addressing this issue of physical relationship. This is a little bit of an embarrassing topic, and I want to speak about it as indirectly as possible, but since so many people are learning about this from the internet and from movies in a negative way, it is really important that we look at this in a positive way. What I'm talking about today is the issue of intercourse, the purpose of sexual intercourse. Yes, number 3, it is enjoyable. Number 2, it produces babies. But number 1, the first purpose is misunderstood. It's virtually people that make movies and these actors virtually have no idea about the first purpose of sexual intercourse. Today, romance is being ruined en masse. And that's sad, and we don't want that to happen. So we're going to teach on the traditional value. We're going to teach on the real function. People don't realize, and we're going to talk about this. Okay, India has a better culture in terms of family values compared to many countries in the world, and probably if you're watching this, you're English medium, and so you've been exposed in every side to a false perspective on love. You can jump into bed with anyone you want. There's bedroom scenes in the films. You can do it with anyone you want, and this is a lie. You have a better culture in India. You don't want to spoil yourself. What does that mean? You don't want to spoil yourself. We're going to explain it very well. You see, God knows that it's hard for two people to live together for 50 years. There should be peace, harmony, unity, minimal arguing. There should be together. The children should have a mum and a dad. They should not separate. It should be the last resort. And so it seems that God has invented something to make more love between two people. This gift of intercourse practiced increases love. When two people are on the one person leaves college and goes home on the bus and phones their fiance or lover, they used to talk to you nicely on the bus. But now what happens is they're in a world of their own. They're talking quietly. They really are lost in another world. Now, physical attraction multiplied by 10 is what happens when two people sleep together. And this is designed to be like the glue for families. This is designed to help people to be able to adjust together for decades. Intercourse takes over from where romance began. The glue is working. It inspires love at the maximum level. It makes two people get on emotionally and intimately. Now, just imagine today that I take a poster of a married couple and I put fresh sellotape on it and glue, and I stick it on the wall. And then I decide I don't like it there, so I take it off there, and I don't have time to change the glue or the sellotape. And so what I do is I stick it somewhere else. Now there's dust and there's paint on the glue, and so when I stick it in the second place, it probably isn't going to stay there for very long. It's going to fall down. It's lost 25% of its sticking power. If you move it somewhere else, it's going to lose another 30% of its sticking power. Now, if I'd taken the poster and in the first place put it there, it would have stayed there for decades. If I hadn't have glued it somewhere else first, but put the fresh tape and put it on the wall, as long as the paint's good, it will stay there for unlimited. Sex is glue to your body. It sticks you to to one lifetime sleeping partner. If you sleep with someone in college before you get married, or you get bored with them and change partner, or your parents arrange a different marriage, and you try and sleep with someone else in your marriage, that gift will not work properly. The glue would have lost its power. You cannot change your sellotape. There is a word for this fresh glue. It is called virginity. It is real. When people say don't spoil yourself, what they really mean, explaining it, is don't waste your bodily glue. People who have wasted it, they often don't agree with this. They don't believe in this. But you see, in England we have an 85% premarital sex statistic for youths, and we have a 60% divorce rates. So in other words, countries that have a very large premarital sex rates, they have a huge divorce rates, which proves that the bodily glue is a real truth. That keeping yourself pure and abstaining before you're married keeps that thing fresh and working properly, so that when you're married it operates, it makes more love, it joins people together emotionally. Sex is marriage. We should just make a commitment before we use it the first time. Your first night should be your first night. Through this intercourse, two people become one person. It's something so beautiful and something wonderful, and it's being spoilt en masse. It scars people's soul when they're pulled away from one lover. We see the highest operation and percentage of suicide today in so many reports by college degree students who use their bodily glue, has slept with someone or married someone without the marriage contract, and then their lover goes off with someone else because they weren't married, they weren't committed, they were bored, but they was really intimate. They, for their side, they still loved, and what happens is they scar their soul, and there are so many that commit suicide. That's not making love, that's making pain. You see, there is a jealousy of love. If you have a fiance or a girlfriend and she starts talking or kissing someone in the Saturday afternoon or Sunday when you meet in you group of friends, you go for an outing, and it's not okay, is it, that your partner or your fiance is intimate with someone else? You would get very annoyed. You would even want to try and hit or harm that person who's interfering in your relationship. There was a couple in Mysore, came in the newspapers recently, that they went too far in their relationship, and then the father of the girl found out and called her back to Hyderabad. Then while she was there, the father arranged her marriage, and after arranging her marriage, she just had to go back for her finals to Mysore. In the exam, when she came in, her ex-boyfriend, who found out she was now married to someone else, and he was intimate with her and glued to her, and so he came with a knife and he tried to slit her throat because he couldn't accept that she'd gone off with someone else. You see, he'd glued himself to her. It's not meant to be separated. After you're glued together, it's not meant to be separated. Everyone understands the jealousy of love. Some of you may say, okay, yeah, I agree with you, one lifetime lover, but the guy I'm with now, the girl I'm with now, I know that they are my lifetime lover, so I don't have to wait till I'm married. I can sleep with them, and great, I'll definitely be committed to them. Well, how do you know that they won't leave you? How do you know that they will be committed to you? They may get a job in the Middle East, or get studies in London, Australia. And so they may say, after 2 years being there, I'm sorry, I found someone else, or I can't wait 3 years, 4 years for you. So it's better we split up. See, unless there's a contract in public, in front of your families, then people just drop out of that relationship casually and waste the bodily glue. It's wasted. So yeah, before you glue yourself to someone, do not give your body to someone unless they're willing to make a commitment. And in writing, in public, before your parents and their parents, it's called marriage. It's a contract. It's one of the highest, most important decisions, commitments. Therefore, it's backed up by a contract in your temple, mosque or church. It's backed up by the court system. It's backed up by the Indian law, by the police. They will make sure that guy pays for the food for any children produced. Do not give your body to someone unless they make a covenant, a contract with you first. And if they're not willing to make a contract, you have to question why. Why are they not willing? If they're not ready to make a contract, then you're not ready to have a physical relationship with them. I've heard this again and again. The people don't make a contract. They sleep with their girlfriends. They get pregnant, and then the girl says to their boyfriend, "We need to get married. I'm pregnant." And the guy goes, "Just have an abortion." And the girl says, "Well, I don't believe in abortion. I've seen the internet photos. It's got eyes and fingers. It's our baby. Let's get married. Will you marry me?" He says, "No, I'm not going to marry you. Not now. I've got to finish my studies." She says, "No, well, if we're married, then we can have this baby." He says, "Well, have an abortion. If you don't have an abortion, my dad will kill me." She says, "No, I can't have an abortion. It's your son. It may be our daughter." Then the guy says, "Unless you have an abortion, I'm leaving you." Then she says, "I thought you said it was for life." You see, unless you have that contract, unless you have it legally binding, unless you have it in public, why do they not want to have the contract? Because they're not fully committing themselves. So since they're not fully committing themselves, don't waste your glue on that person. Now, the other problem is that once you waste your bodily glue, this is so sad. What happens is, not only does it affect your future marriage, the bonding is not there, it becomes making lust and not making love, but without that bodily glue, it increases the chance of divorce. Divorce is a last resort. It should be there, but it's a last resort. And when there's a breakup, when you waste your bodily glue in premarital sex, it increases your chance of it not working afterwards and not working properly, and therefore it leads to divorce, and it's the children that suffer. When there's a divorce, usually the dad will come for 2 or 3 times a month, or Sunday afternoons. He's not there to tuck the children into bed at night. He's not there to read them stories. He's not there when they've failed their maths exam. He's not there when they've fallen over, when they've been bullied at school. He just comes for 3 hours on Sunday afternoon. Especially when they get older, they're like, "What are you doing, Dad?" The children feel their dad's betrayed them because they're not with them. And even if there's a stepdad, it leads to all sorts of problems. And so there are some children that overcome these hindrances and become really good children. But statistically, let me tell you, from the pain of countries where we have a 60% divorce rate, we have lots of statistics about these happenings. When a boy is brought up where his parents are divorced, his dad's not there for most of the time, that boy, brought up in a divorced, broken family, we could say, is 4 times more likely to become a rapist. Children who are born in a broken family where the dad's not usually present are 5 times more likely to commit suicide. These children are 6 times more likely to end up long-term in prison. 7 times more likely to drop out of high school, get pregnant as a teenager, or to commit murder. 15 times more likely as a youth to end up in prison. 24 times more likely to run away from home. You see, all these problems come because children need a strict dad and a loving mum. The dad's loving, the mum's strict. But there are differences emotionally between male and female. It's obvious. And having both is the best combination. Do you want to do these things to your children? Do you want to increase, fill your nation like we filled Western countries with all this extra suicide and children running away, being abused and ending up on drugs and alcohol and drug addicts, heroin addicts because of all these things and imprisoning gangs? The children need you there as a father. So don't waste your bodily glue. Use it, don't lose it. 70% of the long-term prisoners in America are from children from broken families. 85% of all youths in prison come from fatherless homes. 90% of all runaways come from homes where the parents are divorced. Someone who is grown up in a house where their parents are divorced or doesn't have a natural marriage, one man, one woman, are 73 times more likely to be killed. I don't think anyone wants this for their family or for their country. No, the best way, don't be ashamed if you're a virgin and your friends are all saying, haven't you slept with someone yet? You say, no, I'm waiting for my lifetime lover. I'm waiting for my lifetime lover. This is what marriage is. It's saying, I want to make a commitment. I understand. I want more passion. I'm not satisfied with a little bit of fake love and playing around. Why, for the sake of 2 years in your college time, do you want to ruin 50 years of sex with your lifetime lover? The proper way is engagement, romance is blossoming, more and more attraction until the covenant is made. The first night is the climax. And it's not when you're just trying to get, it's when you so love that person that you want to minister to that person. You want that person to be satisfied. That is the purpose. And it's making love, not making lust. There is lust in it. Maximum sexual stimulation comes when you're actually loving that person. The outward physical is important, but the inward person, that you're passionate about the person, that's what's important. That's what's most important. The other problem is today, people don't want to work on their relationship with forgiveness, humility. Life is about developing character, overcoming anger, growing in patience. We all struggle with these things. When we misunderstand someone, we need to understand them. To understand them, we stand under their situation. We forgive the biggest 3 issues we don't like about our spouse, husband, wife. We forgive. And we don't try and change them, but we try and show more patience. Work on your relationship with lending your mobile to your little sister now, your iPad, your PlayStation, your games, and work on being gentle with your dad now when he corrects you. Then you'll be preparing yourself for a good relationship with your spouse after you're married. If you're not talking to someone in your class, forgive them today. Developing that muscle of forgiveness and mercy. We do things wrong. We need other people's forgiveness. So let's practice. But you see what happens when people don't practice forgiveness? Then there's no good relationship. When there's no good relationship, the sex is not satisfying. That's when people go off with someone else. And their children suffer all those terrible consequences. So if you want best for your children, work on your character. Pursue that. Make a decision. That's what you're going after in life. That's the beauty of a gentle spirit, meekness and patience and love, genuine love. So we're in the school of character. Marriage is the school of character. It only works when both sides serve each other. Both, guys as well. She's not the cook. You're not the boss. They're 2 equals and you serve them. A good relationship is guarded with forgiveness. That leads to intimacy. Intimacy leads to maximum stimulation, not variety. The films today say that James Bond jump into bed with anyone and that leads to maximum fulfillment. That's not true. What leads to maximum fulfillment is intimacy, not variety. Intimacy with one lifetime lover, your husband or your wife. Um, Girls, you need to understand your husband will feel jealousy if you spend too much time on the phone to other guys. So limit how many people you speak to of the opposite gender now. You know, if you have one fiance or boyfriend, girlfriend, just speak to them. Try to limit everyone else. Then when you're married, you will limit it apart from your husband, and he won't get suspicious. Suspicion can ruin a relationship. The ladies should submit to their husbands, but as the leader of two equals, and the husband should serve and lay down his wife and lead his wife, but lay down his life for his wife. Films say that no relationship is necessary, no commitment is necessary. They're not burning with desire for that person, and so they have no idea. They have a cheap substitute, fake love. Prostitution is the clearest example of this. There's no relationship at all. It's pure lust. Anyone that goes to prostitute is completely misunderstanding. It's making love and it's bodily glue. They misunderstand both of those things. Okay, the best gift you can give on your wedding day to your fiancé is fresh glue. It's not 2 lakhs rupee dowry. You don't need to do that today. You know, it's such an infinitely precious gift. The person. Why do we need to give money? But the best gift is not a motorbike. It is virginity. That's the best thing you can give. This video and this series, we're not trying to reduce romance, we're trying to multiply it 5 times by having true intimacy. The family also is the basic unit of society. If you break down the family unit, you break down the basic unit of society, and society is smashed. Mera Bharat Mahan. India is great, and India is growing in the world stage and in economy. Others are fractured marriages, fractured society. Their economies are going down. People don't work as hard, more crime, more suicide. But India is going up. Why do we want to ruin that? By introducing all these things, by destroying the bodily glue, destroying the bond in marriage. Let's not allow the film stars to ruin our society. I challenge you, stop sleeping in secret with your secret lover or boyfriend. Make a decision today. Don't waste this gift. Listen to your heart. You know this is right. Yes, it's tough, but being long-term is much better. You see, there is your studies are an exam, but your life is an exam. You know, and it's really important that we exercise self-control. It's a basic characteristic of civilized man. You know, most of you think you're good, but you have a new religion called being cool, and in this cool you have to sleep around. So that's just a deception. You can say no. True love waits. Let's look a bit more detail about these films today. What we see is that 50% of the Hindi movies, 90% of the English movies, and 10% of the regional languages are now introducing bedroom scenes. Now we should have, it's nice, everyone loves a nice love story, and we should have romance and a bit of nice scenes of them holding hands, dancing, singing. Love in the movie, yes. Porn and bedroom scenes, absolutely no. Because what happens is, you know, when they go into their bedroom scene, they don't show it, but they imply that they're doing everything. And they're not married. When have you seen a bedroom scene where it's a married couple? So they're advertising that it's okay to do this with any gender, any time, no commitments. You don't have to be married. So, you know, when they put the bedroom scenes in, they're doing it for money. It is not okay. Some of your heroes are not heroes at all. They are ruining the soul of your nation. These film directors, you need to campaign against the ones that are spoiling marriage and traditional values in India. When you're watching porn or these adult movies, you are robbing your future wife or husband of the emotions that should only be theirs. These Sunny Leon and others are stealing from the true lovers of the people, their wife, their husbands. What should happen is, say one of the wife or husband is on late shift and they come home. The wife or husband is working upstairs in the office. They hear their wife or husband's come home. They run down the stairs, take the bags out of their wife's hands, put them on the floor, grab them in the arms, run up the stairs. That's the enthusiasm that should be between the husband and wife going into it. What happens is, through this porn and this premarital relationships, it ruins that. Instead of that being there for 30, 40 years, it is packed into 3 or 4 years, and then it's ruined. You don't want that. Well, that's crazy. The heroes are not heroes at all. You've all seen it. They're at the swimming pool scene, and the guys come in, they're getting drunk, and then after half an hour of chatting, they go off into the bedroom. They have no idea of what they're doing. They're making money, and you need to campaign against these scenes in your nation. Otherwise, you will change the children's minds, ruin them. They will not understand the real issue. Think of my great-grandparents sank in the Titanic, and so with great interest, 10 years ago, I watched the Titanic movie, and there was a scene in it which was a bit pornographic. There was also a scene in it which was, they didn't show it, but they went into the carriage and they did it. It seems so nice. It is nice within the context of marriage, but out of that context, it's a lie. They're not showing the whole truth. So if they want to put that in the movies, they should show the girl 3 months later, and she's crying, and she realizes she's pregnant, and it's her son, her daughter, and she's thinking about taking the baby poison or asking the doctor to cut out her baby limb by limb. And she said, I can't have it. I want to finish my studies. My guy won't marry me. My mum will kick me out. How can I face my college, my society, my relatives? What will they say about me? They won't understand. But I can't kill my child. You see, family planning is not 100%, 80% successful in a 1-year relationship. It's not 100%. 11 million MTPs or abortions a year prove that. So it's not the truth when they put this. They're taking something from marriage, which is so nice, putting it into the movie out of context and distorting something which is so awesome, one of the most wonderful things in life. They're distorting. Don't fall for it. If someone starts watching a movie like this, an adult movie in your house, Saturday afternoon, Saturday night, your friends, you get up and walk out. As you start to walk out, the guys will go, hey, you not want to watch this? And you turn and say to them, my eyes are for my lifetime lover alone. I'm not going to rob my future lover of the passion that should be them. You're satisfied with this low level of passion without a relationship. I want what you've got now plus the relationship. And my love is jealous. It's going to be like a laser beam for me. I'm going to have that focused in the right direction. And I'm going to have maximum. I'm not going to waste it. That's always been the standard. And I know you're hit on all sides in movies and raps by saying it's okay. Sex sells. It's big money. That's why they put it in. We need to say no. You need to complain. Email. Take 15 minutes a week to search for the editor's email in a newspaper or film, something that is obviously advertising premarital sex. And what you should do is search on Google for their editor's feedback page and just write 3 lines. Explain a couple of these facts. We can change this nation and get back to India being better, more passionate, true romance, lifetime lover. They don't show the heartache. It's a big fat lie in these films. They say, have fun first, then settle down. No, it's not having fun first, it's losing the bodily glow. It's the worst business deal ever. 2 years of fun, actually not full fun, for the sake of 50 years of intimacy and fun, bad deal. That's why they say this, don't spoil yourself. Next point. if you don't restrain yourself before your marriage, you will not be restrained after your marriage. You don't want to come home and find your husband in bed with another girl. You see, why is it that God gives us our hormones 7 years, 10 years before we get married? You write your own resume sexually. If you've been pure before your marriage, and it will be obvious by your lifestyle, people don't keep it quiet anymore because it's become so acceptable. If you'll be found out. And so that resume will be read by the proposal girl. They'll find out. They'll say no, wisely, because you've wasted your glue, and people want fresh glue. As I've said before, the girls in Belgium, one city in India, rose up after my message, and they had a sign saying, we want guys with fresh glue for marriage. And during that 7 years between becoming puberty and adolescence and becoming mature and your marriage, each time that you say, no, I won't go and talk to you, girl, quietly. No, I'm not going to reply to that text, I love you. No, I'm not going to spend hours in the night with that boy. Yeah, I know what he's like. Each time, and your boyfriend says, come on, let's meet up in private. No, let's wait. Let's just have a conversation and meet in our parents' houses. But we'll meet in a group, but not privately, because the temptation will be too great. We want to keep a little distance. You're not going to dress with shorts and mini skirts and showing your parts when you're not engaged, when you're not ready to get married. You're going to dress in a way that covers your parts, so there's not too much inspiration to that guy, or too much inspiration for all the guys. Why do you want to use that as the aperitif, as the tonic in your friendships with many people? You're programming yourself again to get many people attracted to you. That will ruin your future marriage. Now, there is a place for dressing in miniskirts and shorts and t-shirts and showing your parts. It's when you're engaged. It's when you're married. It's when you're on your honeymoon. It's when you're on your first night, when you're having your first dinner together. That's when you dress like this to inspire your lifetime lover, when they're ready to be inspired and it's your first night, and then everything can be done in a beautiful way without wasting the bodily glue. Now, sad to say, I want to tell a story about one of my closest friends at high school. He was a good guy. He sat in the front row sometimes. He was average. He was a good guy. He wasn't in trouble at all at school. He was a normal guy, and he didn't get into gangs or fights. He was quite good at academics, reasonable. But he ended up in prison for 10 years. Why? He was married, and one day he came home and his wife was in bed with another guy. Instinctively, wrong, but instinctively, he grabbed his hunting rifle and he shot the lover in bed and killed him. He was put in prison for 10 years, or he shot him when he was trying to get out. The guy was trying to get out. He was put in prison for 10 years. Now, was that girl making love to her boyfriend? No. The boyfriend ended up dead 5 minutes later, and her husband ended up in prison for 10 years. That girl was not making any love at all. She was making hate because she broke her covenant. She was disloyal, unfaithful. We need to be loyal now in relationships, one engagement at a time, or one lover at a time. And don't go too far too soon. But you see, if we are not restrained before our marriage, the chances are we may not be restrained after our marriage. And if we allow our society and our friends to be saturated with porn, adult movies, jokes about this, don't joke. Don't laugh at a joke about breaking. The heartache. There was a lady opposite my house in London, and she wore sunglasses for 1 year after her divorce. And one day, my mum asked her why she always wears sunglasses, and she took them off. And her eyes were red. This was a year, months, about 10 months after she was married, after she was divorced. And she said, I cry so much still now that my life is shattered. My lifetime lover has run out on me. My children have no father. I'm struggling financially. I have to work more and can't look after my children properly. All these things upset her, because one day her husband, they had no financial problems, they didn't have many arguments, but her husband came home one day and said, I'm bored with you, I am leaving you, and I'm going off with someone else. This is horrible. This unfaithfulness, it seems the grass sometimes may seem to be greener on the other side with someone else. It's not. Yeah, our passion may go up and down, but in the context of a committed relationship with forgiveness and with happy, laughing children, 3 children, always around, we can work on it and we get back into intimacy. That's the best place. It will get worse long term. The front end, yeah, maybe more enjoyable if you go off with someone else. But you can't keep using that front end stimulus. That initial attraction is not meant to be used again and again. It ruins the bodily glue doing that. No, it's meant to be initial attraction to make sure people get married, unless they want to devote themselves to social work, ministry, or loving God, or whatever. But basically, that initial attraction is designed to get 2 people together. Don't misunderstand that and go off with someone else after you're married. That's deception again. That initial attraction has a purpose, but it will ruin the bodily glue. If your feelings go down, they will come up again. Work on your relationship. First, you need to make a decision to change your lifestyle. Yes, it may be a struggle, but the point of life is that we pass the moral tests. We overcome the temptations. Yeah, we want to work on our generosity in life, our genuine kindness when we're in a difficult situation. We're still thinking about our colleagues, our boss. We're disciplined. This is one area to work on. Don't have unrestrained. If you're unrestrained in your driving, you'll have an accident. You drive too fast. If you're unrestrained in TV, you'll fail your exams, watching movies all the time. If you're unrestrained in porn, you'll lose your job. You'll be watching porn, the boss will come in. If you're unrestrained in the area of your love and your sexual behavior, it is foolishness and it ruins the real power of the gift. An athlete, when he's competing for a severe competition, he'll say no to extra films, no to extra parties, no to late nights, no to wrong relationships, no to wasting time, no to too many TV serials, or he wants to get into the state team, and when he passes the exam, he looks back on his as a professional in the state basketball team, and he says, I was wise in my choices. I enjoyed many things, but I had limits. The student that's wise will say the same when they pass out well. They will say the same when they've used restraint in every area. Food as well. I need to think about that. If you dress to get a better date, then you have to sustain that guy's relationship on the basis of the lust. And you won't be able to do that. No, you want to get a date, you want to get a fiance, you want to get a husband based on deeper things than just externals. Externals are important, face and figure, but it shouldn't be the only thing. The primary thing is the personality and the character, and the families all being in unity. These are major issues which are really important. Many parents today are open to their children's choice as well, and they should be. It's a difficult another topic. Some of my friends waited 5 years so that their mum could agree for their choice, and their mum agreed, came to their wedding, helped to arrange the wedding. It was great. But I don't think we have to choose between lover and parents. We want to aim for both. But if we get a date today, because you go to a party and you wear skimpy dress, then that guy is a huge proportion of his reason of being attracted to you is because of the way you dress and because of your body. That won't sustain it 50 years. That's not the basis of a marriage. So hold off on that dress. Get into a relationship through your family and through other reasons, and that will be sustained long term. Don't get drunk on wine. You'll forget everything I've said today. Your conscience will be off somewhere. You'll be at a party, drunk 3 glasses of wine, or 1 glass of wine, and you put a little bit of whiskey or gin in it, and you will be so in love with that guy. You go into the room, you don't realise what's happening, and you would have lost your virginity, your fresh glow. And he may stick with you, but unlikely, such a guy. You'll marry someone else, it won't work properly, and you won't have all that extra love. It'll just be making lust. Don't drink. Don't get drunk. Don't get drunk as a young person. Lastly, I want to look at, in this session, the last 7 minutes, at the issue of AIDS. Now, if someone wants to attack India, they will first take out the Indian army, so that then they can march into the country without the army fighting them. It's the same with the disease called AIDS or HIV. What happens is this disease attacks the immune system itself. It decreases the white blood cells from around 8,000 to, well, close to 0, but when it gets to a low number, they go from HIV positive to a condition called AIDS. And the first short period, no one knows they have AIDS. They may think it's just being sick or headaches, and so it's very dangerous. They don't know who they're sleeping with. They can transmit it. If a girl has AIDS and a guy sleeps with her in unprotected sex, he has 100% chance of getting the AIDS from her in one time sleeping with her. Even if they use precautions and family planning, in a 3.5-year relationship with someone with AIDS or with prostitutes with AIDS, there is 3.5 years of using prostitutes, it is a 50% chance of getting AIDS, even using protection or contraceptive or condoms. So you see, other diseases like TB, tuberculosis, it takes 100 bacteria to take hold of the body. However, for HIV, it just takes 1 cell to get into the body. And even contraception, when people are drunk, they forget to use it. They're just not thinking about it. So today we clean needles before we use them in the hospitals to prevent the spread of disease. We know about screening blood before it's transmitted. At your age, you know, you can't get AIDS now from your parents, you're too old. So apart from drug addicts who have the problem with the needles, people your age with AIDS, and there are 4 million people approximately in India today with AIDS, people your age with AIDS, they are 99.3% of them got the AIDS through premarital sex or using sex workers, prostitution. So if a virgin marries a virgin, it is virtually impossible to get AIDS. AIDS is a clear message from God, whoever he is, that he doesn't want this beautiful bodily glue designed to cause all children to have a mum and a dad to be wasted. And it's very sad. People say, it won't happen to me. They go with one girl, she goes off early morning, she leaves a note, welcome to the world of AIDS. I don't think any of you plan to be dead by the time you're 26. Even with the special drugs today, 6-7 years is average for someone on AIDS. AIDS destroys the army in your body, your immune system. No one dies of AIDS. They die of many other diseases. Lung diseases, brain tumours, tuberculosis, ulcers, You get 3 or 4 ulcers in your mouth. How much painful is it? But when you get HIV, it takes away your immune system. Your whole mouth and throat are covered in ulcers, and you cry all night. I've told 3 people recently that they're dying of AIDS, young people. It's heartbreaking, and their wives. And sometimes they give it to their children as well. Brain tumours, everything goes. All major organs are open and vulnerable to disease once someone has HIV. And so this is not something that this is why this is the one disease which we have to speak against in the education system. But you see, some people say no AIDS and therefore use contraception. Well, one, that doesn't always work, as we pointed out earlier. But 2, that's not the conclusion. The correct interpretation of the AIDS problem is, the correct solution is abstinence until marriage. If a virgin marries a virgin, virtually impossible to get AIDS. Impossible. So, because of AIDS, there's a new name today for using a prostitute: suicides. Because of AIDS, there's a new name today for sex before marriage, because you don't know if that guy is willing to sleep with you. He may have slept with someone else. The new name for sex before marriage is murder. I hope that you'll change and question your lifestyle. Thank you very much.